This is what OneIQ does. It will give you these breaking news alerts if a key setup, because a powerful trade setup is coming together. A setup where everything lines up. Well, in line with the current trend. We pulled back to a key level or key zone, and there is a second line of defense. If all these things are coming together, OneIQ will alert you of these setups. And for me, ever since we've published OneIQ for TradingView, I have set up my alerts in TradingView, alerting me exactly for these setups, and I've day traded these and also swing traded these ever since, with significant success. Now, what are these main setups? Please bear with me. So we have a setup called long power bounce, where we need to be bullish. The trend needs to be bullish. Price needs to pull back to a key level or zone. For example, the zone of control of our volume profile indicator, and there needs to be a second line of defense. And with the second setup, a similar setup for the short direction, where just the trend needs to be down. But no, once again, we need to be pulling back or pulling up to a key level or zone, and there needs to be a second line of defense. And of course, every once in a while, all these lines of defense are actually being broken to the upside or the downside. And this is when we get the long power breakouts or the short power breakouts. And this is exactly what OneIQ detects for you and alerts you for. And now, without further ado, we just completed and will be published later on today OneIQ for NinjaTrader 8. Now this indicator works. Now you can set up your scans. Will be shown to you now in a quick demo, because the full details will be given to you in our masterclass, but in a quick demo, Niklas will show it to you now. So Niklas, are you ready to take it away?
Yeah, I'm good to go. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so like Daniel mentioned, OneIQ packs together, it makes use of our 3 market IQ indicators. And I've got them here on the chart just so we could better understand how they're all brought together by OneIQ. To start off, first we have our momentum indicator, which is MA Rush, these 3 lines here, right? We can see this bearish label right here telling us the current trend. We've then got liquidity IQ giving us these support and resistance levels, as well as liquidity capture signals like right here and here, and zone break signals, which are the breakout signals through levels. And of course, on the far right, we've got volume IQ, our volume profile indicator. And we have our 2 main setups, or 4 main setups, if you're counting both the long and short direction, which are bounces, power bounces we call them, or power breaks. OneIQ basically takes information from all of these 3 market IQ indicators. So MA Rush to find what the trend is. Here we could see, and this is the panel from OneIQ in the bottom right, it's telling us, hey, the market headline is MA Rush is bearish. And these are, of course, separate indicators, but OneIQ packs them all into one. The pressure, there's a zone of control above from volume IQ. You can see that zone of control right here. And level, there's a level above us, resistance, 84.45, which is this bluish turquoise line right here, 84.45. And this, coincidentally, is one of the trading setups the indicator looks for, called a short power bounce. We're bearish, and we're coming up to a resistance level which has a second line of defense. In this case, this big high volume node, zone of control. And we're seeing this setup on the 15-minute chart for MRVL. This is a stock. If we look into the indicator settings for OneIQ, we can see, just like on TradingView, it's got pretty much the exact same settings. Being able to determine which setups you're going to look at, which ones will be detected and which won't. Your options for calculating volume IQ, the time frame for liquidity IQ and MA Rush, and so on and so forth, and how nearby the levels and zones need to be, so on and so forth. We have covered this for TradingView, and it's the exact same thing going on here on NinjaTrader. But this setup on the 15-minute chart for MRVL, what's so nice about NinjaTrader, and which makes OneIQ so convenient as opposed to perhaps in the past, trying to combine all of these indicators together, is we can find these highly filtered setups just by creating simple market analyzer columns. So I'm going to walk us through that here. Actually, I'm going to open a new market analyzer window, and we can see what we can come here to find. So what OneIQ makes it easy to do is we've got these 4 different setups, right? short power bounce. There's a long power bounce if we were coming down to support with a second line of defense and we're bullish. And then there are power breakouts, which are big breaks that also are backed up by another level or a zone of control. Well, the indicator makes it super easy to scan for these setups across any number of symbols or any watch list. So what we can do is I'm going to come in here to the analyzer. And what we do is come in and click on indicator in our columns, create a custom indicator column. We're going to go to indicators, scroll all the way down to trading indicators, and we'll select, and this will, when you receive it, will be in this other folder called trading indicators scans. For now, it's in trading indicators. We then find, well, which time frame do we want to run our scan on? So let's say we want to run our scan on the 15 minutes, or let's run it on the daily chart. So we'll click 1IQ D1, and then we select, well, what are we scanning for? A power bounce setup, short power bounce, long or short power break. We'll say long power break. We come down to here, make sure we load a decent amount of data. In this case, for Liquidity IQ, I'm going to load about 1,000 days of data. We're on a daily chart because we're using the D1 scan. I'll say, okay, we'll load 800 days of data. That should be enough. And the label, we'll call this long power bounce. Okay. And then a little tip here, if you've never done this, when you're creating multiple columns to scan for different plots. So we're starting off looking for long power bounces. If we're looking for, we're going to create duplicates of this so we can create columns for the other ones. What you do is you come down to preset here and click save. That way, when I come and double click indicator, it's going to load up pretty much the exact same thing. It's already selected 1IQ D1. I just need to switch the plot and switch the name. So now I'll have my column to look for a short power bounce.
That is a cool tip. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I just recently discovered it. And when you close out of this window and you open it back up, you have to save the preset again, but you get used to it. Long power break here. And there we go. Double click indicator. Now we'll have short power break. So see how fast that was? That wasn't long. And now we have 4 different columns, which will tell us if there are one of these setups on the daily chart for any instrument inside of the list of symbols we load here. So I'll start with the Dow 30. And the first time you load it in, it might take a little bit of time as we need to load those 800 daily bars and all of the multi-time frame data for each of these symbols, which may not already be on our system. And in this case, for me, it's not already on our system. So what we're going to do, it's all blank, which to me, I'm 99% sure that this means that there is no setup for these symbols. What we can actually do is come in here and make sure things are a little clearer. So we'll create what's called a sell condition down here in conditions. And we'll say, hey, if the value, this is how we do it, if the value of the long power bounce is greater than 0, then I want it to stand out. I want it to have green text and say, bounce. Okay. I'll do the same for the short power bounce. Just make it a little bit different, greater than 0. We'll make it have red text and a black background and say bounce. And what this is basically doing is instead of having just blank columns on the times where there is actually a value or is a setup, it's going to be clear and it's going to be highlighted. So, okay, sell, come in here. This will be greater than 0. This will be a break. And that's green on, green on black. And then we'll get red on black here. And what we're going to do now is load in more symbols. That way we have a higher chance of getting a setup. Okay, greater than 0. Cool. Okay, so now this will load in just a second. And we always recommend when you're creating your columns or you're styling them, you're getting them prepared, to not have your symbols loaded yet. You want to add your instruments after you've prepared your columns, since every time you make a change, it does have to recalculate all the values for all the symbols. Now, what I'm going to do here, this might take a little bit of time, but I'm going to click select all from the NASDAQ 100, and we're going to wait for this. And in the meantime, if anybody has any questions, I don't think we see any. One cool feature I'm going to get to in just a moment, once this is done loading, is that unlike on TradingView, NinjaTrader is a little bit more versatile with its capacity for complex calculations. So as we're going to see, not only are we able to see if there is a long or short power bounce or power break on the current bar, But in the NinjaTrader version of 1IQ, you're actually also able to see on the chart every time that one of these setups occurred historically. So we'll see in the coming near future. I'm not sure if it's going to be entirely possible yet, but with high hopes, what that might mean for something like the Strategy Builder or Bloodhound. So
Yeah, exactly.
we wait for this.
Yeah, so this is a scan which initially may take some time to initialize, and the reason for this is because NinjaTrader will need to download all this historical data if it's not available yet. But we believe that once this is done, once all the data is available, it will run quite smoothly.
So we have one here on the daily chart of Qualcomm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this analyzer is linked up with the red. I'll come onto this chart. We want to make sure that we have the daily chart, same amount of data. Okay. And I believe on that here, I actually, because I was on the 15-minute chart, I was using different proximity thresholds. So I'm going to set these to the defaults. Now they match up with what's happening in the scanner. And what we'll do is come over to the market analyzer and click on that setup we found. We can see, boom, instant. Look how fast it calculated. Long power bounce. There's a zone of control below. Oops. And the zone of control is aligned. Let's get this stretched out. The zone of control is basically supporting this support level. We've got bullish momentum and we're coming down to this potential bounce point. So it triggered this setup, and we found that across hundreds of different stocks very quickly.
I like it. Yeah, maybe this should have been our trade of the day. It's really cool because we are actually coming close. We're not there yet. Maybe just stay on the chart for 1 second.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Look how close we are getting, but we're not super close to the zone of control on the support level yet, because the proximity setting allows for our price to be aware, I believe, by 3 times the ATR.
Yeah.
Which doesn't need to be always super close, but nonetheless, that's an interesting one to consider if price is actually going down a bit deeper.
And the ATR is quite big right now because of these bars. This bar here, so the 3 times probably coming down to like here. So yeah, we could have decreased the proximity sensitivity, and maybe this setup wouldn't have been alerted yet.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we're gonna go through all these tweaks what you can do with 1IQ in our masterclass. But yeah, it's a nice one. Absolutely. I think Qualcomm was also asked for in our last live scanning session as a simple request. I think we came to a similar conclusion. Yeah, it's a potential